This is the IT Director's Playbook, the podcast where we sit down with IT directors, ed tech leaders, and industry experts to tackle real-world tech challenges, honest conversations, expert insights, practical takeaways. Let's dive in. Well, welcome to this special episode of the IT Director's Playbook. This is one of the rare episodes where we do not have an actual IT director on the podcast, but this podcast is sponsored and powered by Ambit Solutions. And so today we've got the privilege of having the founder and CEO, Craig Reeves, on the podcast, and his son, Stephen Reeves, future president, maybe the president, depending on when this airs. So welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Typically, we've got the other Reeves sitting with me on the podcast, but I'm glad to have you two. We've worked for 20 years with IT directors, specifically in the K-12 market. And what we would love to hear is the history of that story and where did we get started with Ambit Solutions and where did we get started with working with IT directors and the lessons we've learned along the way, being a vendor for 20 some years. So love to get started. Where did we start with Ambit Solutions, Craig?
It's a long story. I'll give you the abbreviated version. I had been in the world of what was called content management systems for better part of 20 years, was with a worldwide company, was a part owner, sold out of that company, and was looking for something new and also something that fit the the family situation. Two older daughters that were in high school. Stephen and David were in middle school, and really wanted to spend more time with them as they were going to be leaving the house in a few years. And I always say even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. I was not looking to be in telecom, did not know anything about telecom, but bought into Ambit right before the worst financial crisis in 80 years. I've always said, if you need financial advice, I'm the last person on the planet you need to call. Because starting a company in that economy, it's the grace of God that we made it. In the course of starting Ambit, we were a content management company, but we needed a phone system. And so I started soliciting local telephone companies, different vendors, Nortel dealers, Avaya dealers, and we just needed a small system to be able to get voicemail, give voicemail to email. And I was shocked at the prices. They ranged anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 for a 7-user system because it was a PBX at the time. Well, my background was I was a software developer, and I was huge into the open source world at that point in time, doing a lot in the Linux platform. And so I just happened one weekend to Google open source telephone, and this platform called Asterisk popped up. Looked at it, and I thought, nuts, I can buy the pieces of equipment on the internet. Amazon was in its infancy. I can't remember who I bought telephones from. They were Cisco telephones, and built the PBX one weekend, compiled it, put it on a server, and lo and behold, it worked. I was like, well, this is pretty cool. Hand massaged all the config files, and we utilized that to basically set up. We had an office in Little Rock, Arkansas, and one in Birmingham. And so we were able to communicate seamlessly between those two locations over the internet. And it was pretty cool. And as a result of that, my accountant saw it because he was in the same building and said, hey, could you do a system for us? Ended up doing a system for the accountant. And that was just kind of a side thing. Well, along comes 2007 and 8, the economy's crashing, content management, document imaging, which is what we were in. Literally, I'd never seen anything like it. Phones stopped ringing. It was 8 times more expensive to digitize and process a piece of paper than it was just to leave it in a filing cabinet. And literally overnight, that entire business just came to a grinding halt. And as a result of that, needed to be able to pivot. And one of the things, we were on the verge of bankruptcy. Most people don't know that. And saw an opportunity with the phone system, and by God's grace, had a situation where a gentleman I knew that was selling school curriculum approached me, knew what I was doing, knew that I was getting into this thing called voice over IP. And he said, "Hey, I've got a school district, which is Coleman City Schools." And I name them, forever thankful for Coleman City Schools, Alabama. And said, "I'm trying to sell them online curriculum." So this is the early days of VoIP, early days of online curriculum. He said, "But the problem is the tech coordinator has told me that they can't purchase online curriculum this year because they've really got a bunch of dying telephone systems at their schools, and they're looking to go with Cisco voice over IP." So this gentleman said, "Hey, if everything you're telling me is true, you think you could do a school district?" And I said, "I think we could." Just went up, met with Alan Pass, who was the tech coordinator at that time. He looked at it, kind of showed him a little demonstration. He said, "Well, this looks pretty cool." He said, "But I'm going to have to put it out for bid." And it's not a problem. So ended up putting it out for bid. I don't know the exact numbers, but I always say Cisco was right in the 129,000 range for their system. We were 21,000. So we were a little over $100,000 savings. First question you always get is, did you leave money on the table? Probably did. B, are you going to make money? We did make money. So it actually ended up, and Coleman City Schools is still a customer today. And that's one of the things that we saw was a huge opportunity, was not just the cost savings during one of the worst economies, but it was an opportunity to change the model for telecommunications back to customer service centric. And so that's really what we predicated Ambit on, was not just simply being able to offer telephone service. I always tell people today, anybody can do telephones. It's not technically a hard thing to do, but do it with a smile and do it every day and continue to partner with people. That's the hard part. It's the customer service side of the equation that really, I believe, has set us apart over the past 20 years. So that kind of grew. One of the things, I'm going to name a few people that I believe are key people in the development of Ambit. One of the key folks was Glenn Granberry with Lee County Schools. Ended up, we did their phone system. And Glenn did something that really kicked Ambit into the stratosphere, which is, at that point in time, you had proration going on in the schools. The economy was declining. Budgets were being cut. And Glenn said, "Hey," sent an email to the Alabama Department of State, said, "If you're needing to save money and find money in your budget, you're probably sitting on a pile of money in your telecom, and call Ambit Solutions." So I all of a sudden I'll never forget, in one day I got 6 tech coordinators call me in one day saying, "Hey, just got this email from Glenn. What would you be able to do with our district?" And that really, so while the economy is doing this, we started doing this, which I thought was pretty cool. So we ended up putting in, I think that year, close to 6 different systems. I was by myself for the most part the first 5 years. So I was, some of the techs today ask me, "Well, how'd you do this?" I said, "Well, I would sit in a hotel room. I would answer support calls during the day on my cell phone. I had a MiFi, and I would be on the internet." And that was one of the beauties of voice over IP, is I could service and support the system from anywhere. So I would sit in a hotel room during the day, and about 3 o'clock, things would start winding down as school. The existing customers would start winding down. And then I would go out to a new school district, and I'd start, doing the install at night while the kids weren't there. And that's pretty much my life for the first 4 to 5 years, was by myself, just kind of doing that routine. Long days.
Amazing. Were you putting out every single handset?
Every single
was
handset.
Stephen or David running around putting out any? No?
Not at that time.
Yeah, I was completely by myself. So it was a fun time. Would I redo it? People have asked me all the time, would I redo it? No. No. But do I appreciate that time? I do. Because I always tell people, one of the things that's key in business, and I learned this early in my career, is the market will tell you what it wants. And to be able to work alongside the tech coordinators that I did in those early days, they would tell you what they needed. And it was simple things. It would be something like, hey, we've got to have faxing in the CNP, or we really need to be able to handle the attendance, the absenteeism better in the morning. Well, okay, I've got this thing called an IVR, and I've got a queue, and I can take the call and record it so that the front office is not having to handle those calls during high traffic times. It's simple things like that. The market just starts telling you all these different capabilities they need. Schools, I always say, when you're in technology, the best technology to be in are the technologies that support somebody else's function. Mm-hmm. So schools aren't in the phone business.
Right.
They just need phones to help them with education. And so that's really the premise I took, was how can we support education and the mission that they've got better and do it better? They don't care about voicemail. They care about the fact that voicemail can save them time so that they can do these other jobs during the day. They don't care about an IVR. They care about the fact that an IVR can save them time and redirect calls. And people calling in can say, hey, I got a game I got to reschedule with Coach so-and-so. They can handle that themselves versus somebody sitting there having to handle that call. So those first 4 to 5 years were invaluable in learning everything that was going on in the education space. And again, the savings didn't hurt. Obviously, that was a big bonus. But really understanding what people did. And I'll never forget Alan Pass. He shared one thing with me that was the key to tech coordinators. He said, look, I've got no resources. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough people. I don't have enough time in the day.
Right.
The big thing I need is I've got to have a telecommunications platform that does not create more work for me. And I listened to that. And that's one of the things I said was, hey, we'll create a model where we become a partner for you, and just think of us as an extension of your department, and we handle your telecommunication needs. That really set us apart from somebody. It really hit home when I would go in and see some of the binders that the bookkeeper would show me or the file of all the invoices. So one of the things I hit on early on was most telecom companies would charge by the call. In other words, you needed a phone moved, an ad move or change. Okay, well, that's $75. You needed a new option on the IVR. Well, that's $260. You needed the voice. It just went on and on and on. And I continually, as I went to each school district, they were showing me these folders of all these incidental invoices for just changes, modifications. So one of the things I hit on early on was annual support unlimited. And that's what we've done ever since day one. You need a phone changed, you need an IVR change, you want to completely change the routing in your phone calls. We'll do it.
Yep.
We're here for it. Still do that today.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I think just making it easy. You guys have heard me say this. People want the easy button. They want to be able to have their life made easy. And so the best thing we can do is have customers that never mention telecom in the course of their daily functions. It's just a natural thing that's there in the background. It does what it's supposed to do. That's a good day for us. So that's really the early years. As it evolved, obviously the product evolved, all the equipment evolved.
You stopped putting out phones at some point.
I did. I think it was around 2012 or 13. I then hired my first tech that helped me out.
And how many school districts at this point do you think you had by then?
Probably 15 to 20.
Wow. All in Alabama?
All in Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't intend or start Ambit or this, putting out phone systems with the intent of it being K-12 exactly. And of course we do, plenty of businesses and municipalities, nonprofits, and all that kind of stuff. But it ended up being K-12 was our number one partner.
Really was. And the funny part about that is when I first went to my very first Alabama Leaders in Education Technology Conference, a friend of mine was working for a competitor that was a Cisco reseller. And he and I had worked together another job. And he came over and he said, "Hey, how you doing?" "Great." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm here, selling a open source phone system." He said, "Dude, let me save you some time. Schools cannot afford voice over IP. We've tried for years. You're just never going to be able to do it." And I left that first show pretty discouraged, thinking,
wow,
oh man, I have made a fatal error.
I've not heard the story.
What's funny is roll forward about 5 years, he walks up to me and he says, "How are you doing this?" I said, "Doing what?" He said, "How are you getting these schools?" And I've never seen an RFP or a bid. Well, at that time, we were pretty savvy. The bid law in Alabama was if it was under $15,000, you didn't have to bid. So guess what? Every one of our systems was magically under $15,000. And the way it would start, I always said it was like eating an elephant. You guys heard me say it this week, Lightning was our best salesperson. And a school would get hit. The phone system would go out, and almost every school in those days had a key system, an old telephone system for every school. So you didn't have to do the entire district.
It wasn't the whole district.
Right. And so those early years were going in, but here was the cool thing. Once the customer bought the PBX server, it would handle hundreds or thousands of phones, handsets. So you literally could migrate. We would put the server at the central office, just handle that one school as far as phones. But then the next year they
wait for the next school to get hit by
lightning.
That's
it, and just nibble. I think the funniest one was Talladega County Schools story I tell. I think it took us a total of 5 years to convert that. We just kind of nibbled at it. But the funniest one is when the tech coordinator called me and said, "Hey, Lincoln High School, the PTA heard how inexpensive the phones were. The PTA actually bought all the phones for Lincoln High School, so we're going to be able to do it this year." And it was stories like that were just fun because the technology was so inexpensive and so easy to propagate. It really made the migration process simple. So, yeah, those were some fun. I've got hundreds of stories like that, just fun stories.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this coming when you started working with school districts in Alabama, but at what point did you realize, we're going to become the number one telecom choice for Alabama city and county schools?
That's a good question because I got called by a young man. I don't know how he got my name, but he was in the MBA program at Auburn University. He had a questionnaire he was doing for his master's. But at the end, he asked me a question. He said, "Hey, is there one thing that you could attribute your success to?" And I said, "Yeah." Well, I think he was surprised how quick I responded to him. He said, "All right, what's that?" I said, "Fear of starvation." I have this nasty habit of liking to eat. And every day it was, trying to go out and just simply survive to the next day. It was really when I would say around 2015, I think we had 5 employees. We had our first vehicle, and the annual support covered the Christmas party and bonuses. And I thought, okay, this thing is actually an ongoing concern. One of the funniest stories, I'm not sure where she's at. I need to look her up. Kathy Raines, she was actually a customer twice. She was the tech coordinator at Madison City Schools when I first met her, and a tech coordinator then at Decatur when she retired. But Kathy, when I was by myself and competing against Cisco in those early days, she said, Craig, I got one question for you. And I said, what's that? She said, what happens if you get hit by a bus? And I said, well, Kathy, first of all, why am I the one that's always getting hit by the bus? Why aren't you getting hit by the bus? I said, but secondly, let me be perfectly honest. I won't care. I'll be in a better place. I will not care what's going on with your phone system. But I said, here's what I will tell you. I said, the fact that we're open source and the fact that there are 5,000 developers globally and there are companies utilizing this software all over the planet, you're going to be able to find somebody to step in and take this system over much easier than you would if you had a commercial product. And I said, and at a price point much less. And, her response was, well, that was a really good answer. I also gave her the example at that time because you had Nortel, the largest phone company in the world, went out of business during the recession. And I said, size is not an indicator of longevity. And I've always said that. You've got to remain current and relevant to your customer base. And I think that's really been the ongoing challenge for Ambit is how do we remain relevant in the telecom space going forward. One of the things that I determined was I didn't want to do a company, and there's nothing wrong with it. There are different ways to build a business model. I've been a part of my previous company where you call it the hockey stick growth. You come out with a product, you literally try to ramp sales as fast as you can. You get to that $5 to $10 million mark, and at that point in time, you've reached the sweet spot to sell the company. Well, the last company I did that with, I remember calling one of the customers and telling her the good news. We had just been bought. And she responded to me. She said, well, I am not happy. And I said, well, why are you not happy? And she said, because I picked your company and I specifically did not want to do business with the company that just bought you. And that was my choice at the time. Well, now I'm having to do business with a company I didn't want to do business with. It really hit home to me that in this space, the solution space, people buy people. They don't buy products. And one of the things that kind of set me on the course for was I want to respect a customer's choice long term and not force them back into a market when they're really pleased with the product and services that they're getting. So for that reason, I already knew I was not going to sell Ambit just to be able to, take my retirement and go live at the beach. I knew that I really wanted to be able to provide a company that would longevity be able to work with customers in the future. And so with that, we take a very long view on technology, on solutions, and on customer relationships. Our average customer today, we've got nearly all the schools that we started with. Those first 5 years, every single one of those schools is still with us today, nearly 20 years later. And our turnover rate is sub 1%. Typically, when we lose a customer, it's because they've gone out of business or they got bought by somebody and they took on whoever bought them. They had their own technology platform. But we rarely get somebody saying, hey, we're done with you. It's happened. We've had one or two where we've made mistakes, and we do make mistakes, and they said, hey, I've got to move on. But we really try to learn from those errors on our part and say, how do we need to do things better? So with Stephen taking over the CEO reins here at the end of the year, we're really excited about the future. I mean, Stephen and I are really trying to lay out a 5-7 year roadmap of what Ambit needs to do. And our move into the life safety space, I think, is one of the key things that's going to set us apart in the coming years. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any trepidation about taking over the reins? I'll ask a couple questions.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
I mean, there's obviously the stewardship of what you've built. That's definitely not something that I think anybody would step in and take lightly. But just remembering the foundation of what made this company what it is and how important it is, and just continuing that legacy on.
Yeah.
This is not something that I'm wanting to change the formula on how things go, but really remembering that the customers at the end of the day have chosen to work with us and honoring that by continuing to serve them well and facilitating what they do, and just continuing this long-term partnership style of doing business with people. I mean, that's the whole goal. Keep that going.
Business is not unlike marriage, so Connie and I have been married coming up on 42 years. Ups and downs. We've had our high points, our low points, but the reality is you're committed to a goal. And our particular goal was honoring Christ through the marriage. And did we fail in certain aspects of that? Absolutely. Was I the perfect husband at every opportunity? No, there were some days I was selfish and wanted what I wanted. Buying a car I probably shouldn't have bought. And so, business relationships, and this is the thing I've tried to communicate with the folks internally, is not unlike that. You always want to keep the relationship premier. That should be the center. How you handle difficulties in those relationships is really going to tell the tale of the longevity aspect of what you're going to be able to do in the marketplace. Now, obviously, you've got to have products and services that are relevant. Just like in a marriage, you've got to be able to provide for your family and clothe them and transport them and raise them. There are functional things that have to go on. Well, there are functional things that have to go on in a business. But understanding the value and the importance of that relationship should always be out there in every decision that you make. So, I'm really excited for David and Stephen, and for you. I mean, Jesse. I mean, you're the marketing director. I think the best days are still ahead for Ambit. I think there's a lot of exciting things in the voice space going on.
Absolutely. Why have you chosen not to require contracts with our partners?
Yeah, that's a great question. A funny reason, not the actual reason, is when I left my other company, I spent a fortune. I was a part owner, and exiting cost me a lot of money. I always say it was the most expensive exit I've ever had in my life. Tens of thousands of dollars to do the contracts and intellectual property agreements and everything else. And I was really kind of toasted on all these formal agreements. And, I've always said you should be able to tell somebody, look somebody in the eyes and say, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And so I took it upon myself to always honor the word that I said. Sometimes I lost money honoring my word, but I gave my word. And, today we've got what I call light agreements. But one of the things I never wanted to do was force a customer into a relationship they did not want. That to me is just one of the most egregious things. And in the telecom space, it was really common to do a managed services agreement or a 5-year contract or a 3-year contract. Can't tell you how many early days, how many times I go call on a customer and I go, oh, I love what you're doing, but I'm in a contract I just re-signed and I've got 3 more years before I can make a change. you shouldn't have to be able to, or shouldn't be made to do that. Should be able to, if it meets your business objectives, to be able to make a change whenever you want. What I tell our folks internally, you guys have heard it time and time and again.
Oh, yeah.
We have to go out every day and earn our customers' business every day. And so it forces you not to get complacent when you have to go out and earn your customers' business every day. And there are times you do get complacent. And those times that I mentioned where we lost a customer, that's typically what happened. We took a customer for granted, got complacent, and didn't do the things we needed to do. Every single time I think about any of those, that's the formula of what happened. And it's no different than playing football. I love college football, and everybody practices, and they practice so when they get in the game, they execute that play just the way they did in practice. And when they don't, that's when you have a play that doesn't work optimally. And business is the same way. So, yeah, so probably a long-winded answer for why we don't have contracts. That and the fact that, I hate doing I hate reading contracts. I get them all the time. And, at the end of the day, it cracks me up. It's like we just redid our general liability for the company last year. And I told the sales rep that handled us, I said, look, this is a great day. You're happy. You're getting a new customer. I'm happy. I've got a new plan. I said, we'll see how this relationship goes the first time I've got a claim. And he just kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? But that's the way it's in those times of difficulty. That's when you understand, is this a relationship that's of value to me? So, yeah.
Ambit it's really been the American dream business in that it's 100% organic growth.
Yeah.
You've chosen to not operate with debt from the beginning and have grown it 100% organically. There's no conglomerate pulling the strings with Ambit. No, mega company that is, if that's running things. It's truly never been that way with this group. And you've had the opportunity to sell and chosen not to.
Yeah.
You've been running the business from the beginning based on relationships, based on understanding what the customer needs, what those IT directors need. And you know them all by name. It's been amazing the amount of people that you know and remember, it's unbelievable. But
every one of them had translated into feeding me one time. I'm appreciative for the fact that they helped feed me over the years.
And I'm pretty sure that you probably fed them once or twice. If you've ever known Craig, you've probably had him take you out to lunch. But that's just been the way that you've operated.
Yeah.
And therefore, you've built the trust of Alabama city and county schools. You won that trust. And I think the big question, knowing that you're not going to be at Ambit forever, is where do we go from here? Are there going to be big shifts here? And I think the point is, Stephen, you're taking up the reins there. Can you answer that question, or can you all answer that question? Are there going to be big shifts for Ambit in the future?
Yeah, it's definitely a valid question. I think that's a big concern a lot of times when you see a transition, whether that's a business being purchased or, passing on from one generation to the next. And as far as big shifts, no. He mentioned earlier that we're laying out a 5 to 7 year plan of what we want to accomplish and what we want to be able to offer to our customers. And that really is laying the groundwork for the future of being able to offer what we do in a better way. But it's not changing how or what we're doing. The whole goal is to continue that idea and that model of building relationships with folks and serving them really, really well. Having great customer service is still going to be a top priority. Having people inside the company who know what we do is going to be a top priority. And building relationships with people is still going to be how we continue to do business. So we're not in the space of saying, hey, I want to, as soon as dad steps aside, I'm going to take this thing and try and put some rocket fuel underneath it. Definitely not the goal. I want to continue to grow the business sustainably to where we can continue to serve more customers, but do it in a way that is still maintaining that quality and level of business that we've been doing for so long, because that's what drives the business. That's what people want. And so we're trying to continue to serve the market in that way.
Yeah, and I would tag on with that. So we've noticed a trend over the last 5-7 years. The big telecom companies have all been transitioning to offering data. That's their primary mode of going out. Voice services kind of their also and. It's becoming a more and more relegated to the background conversation. So when you go to the big, and I won't mention names, telecom companies, or you look at the ads on television, it's all about data.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously we require data to be able to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really been for us understanding that need for voice telecommunications. There's 100 ways to communicate today. There's SMS texting, there's voice communication, there's chat, video. The list goes on and on.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing substitutes one human speaking with another human. And we feel like that's the space we want to continue to be focused on, is enabling humans to talk to each other. Are we going to do things like adopt AI? We are, but we're going to be very strategic with how we adopt AI. And we're already working on those paths today. But one of the things that we see is all the major telecom companies are reducing their focus on voice communications. There's billions and billions of dollars in that space, the voice communication space, to be had. And that's the reason we've stayed focused and not getting diverted into doing PC support, antivirus.
We've never been an
those
MSP,
things.
right?
Yeah. We are dedicated to voice communications. That's what we are focused on. That's what we're extremely good at.
How have IT directors shaped Ambit's product and services roadmap over the years?
I would say this, since this is an IT directors, my hat always goes off to IT directors. I used to be a CTO and a CIO for a private sector company, a multinational one. The number of staff people that I had was pretty comparable in a 220-person company, was pretty comparable to the staff that I see some of these school districts that have tens of thousands of stakeholders, students,
Right.
parents, teachers and faculty, vendors. I honestly do not know how they do that. It's amazing that they get done what they get done. And so one of the things that we've always tried to do is respect the time that a tech coordinator has. So meeting, again, you can't do the pop-in. Now, I've got some I do just because they're friends. But typically doing the pop-in, they're in the middle of 5,000 crises during that day. But being able to take time or find time in their schedule that you can meet with them. So we found supporting their local events, going to their annual events, where they've got basically the ability to pull away from their day-to-day task and give you some time in their head to be able to speak. Those are the best times to meet with these folks.
Yeah, I'll tack onto that. I had the opportunity over the last few years to work as a project manager, which has been fun. It's given me a unique opportunity to get to know the tech coordinators that we've worked with. And it is fun to see how they address the challenges that they have inside of their school system. And so like that said, hats off to them. A lot of really creative folks out there, a lot of very diligent folks out there, and people who care about getting it right for their school system. And I've loved the opportunity just to get to know as many of them as I have and be able to say, okay, here's how we can take what they're doing, take what their needs are, and then figure out how we can support them better. And so it's an ongoing conversation that we're listening to the technology directors and what they're facing in their day to day, and then going, okay, how can we support them in what they're doing? And so, just like it shaped in the early years, some of the ways that we offered products or services, or the way that Dad did, we're continuing to be mindful of who our customer is and what they need and how to help them accomplish what they're trying to in their districts.
Totally. The big product addition, I guess, in my mind is we went from telecom to telecom and intercom in the K-12 space, right? So, and the cool thing is it was the same system.
Yep.
I guess that was intentional from the beginning, or that just happened out that way. But literally, we are serving telecom all across the Southeast, and guess what? Lightning is striking again, and intercoms are going out, and now we're doing IP intercoms, same system.
Yep.
We're not even like adding on to, oh, we also do this. Like, no, you actually have it. That was the big one. And then I see another evolution happening with what we're offering as a product, especially in the K-12 market, and that is safety, life safety.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we're filming this podcast at a 911 conference right now because Ambit has been very interested in the 911 space and life safety space, and we're obsessive about it. We talk about it every day. We're constantly wanting to be learning, but also be a thought leader in this space and leading the charge, especially in that K-12 area, and caring about school safety. So could you guys talk about that? That's kind of what I see as the next big evolution in the products that we're offering. It's now in the life safety arena. Can you speak into that?
Yeah. The safety is obviously the hottest topic in our world right now. It's been that way for a little while.
Right.
But yeah, in the course of working with all of these school districts, I feel like we just constantly hear about their needs. And like you said, the intercom systems, and they're regularly categorized by us, by the schools, by other vendors as life safety products, because they're mass communication tools that help inform the people inside the facility what's happening in the event of an emergency, and to also be able to reach emergency services. And we take that really seriously. We want to make sure that our customers that rely on us don't just have the ability to call a parent, but they also have the ability to call 911, and that works, and it works right every time. And so that's a huge focus for us. We are always wanting to make sure that we can provide the best safety services we can. But part of that is some regulations that have come down from the FCC. Ray Bombs Act passed a number of years ago, and it is what Dad mentioned here, NG 911 or Next Gen 911, and it's the ability to provide a more precise location on a telephone and where an emergency call comes from. Part of the emphasis for us coming down to this conference is to make sure that we're on the front edge of what's happening in this space. We have the unique ability to see the customer side of what happens in the house, and this conference is giving us a good insight into what happens on the other side of that phone call when it's received by the 911 dispatchers. And it's been phenomenal. Hats off also to the 911 dispatch centers, first responders. They do an amazing work. And it's been cool. I've sat in a couple of sessions and heard some questions that are being asked. And, it's people care. They want to be in this space because they want to help people. And that's where we're at too. So I think we're focused on providing life safety products, reliable for the school system, and layering in, the phone system, the intercom system, the specific location data of where 911 calls are being made from for whatever event may be occurring inside the school. The whole goal is to help first responders respond more effectively inside the facility.
Yeah, and one of the things that you talk about, the IP intercom that we hit on, and the fact that it's the same system as the phone system. Well, Ambit's a carrier, so we provide dial tone over SIP trunks, Ambit's the equipment supplier. And one of the things we realized early on, why can't we make an intercom dial 911? And so today, when we have put in these IP intercom systems, they are fully capable of dialing 911 right from the classroom. You then tack on to that the fact that we've always supported Alyssa's law.
Yep.
Now, we've always had the ability when a 911 call is made to engage other extensions so that people can listen in on that call on the local campus. Now they have the same ability with IP intercoms. They shouldn't be two systems. It is, we look at the telecom stack, the full stack, as being all fully integrated. The dial tone, the call handling and routing through the PBX, and then the endpoints, which for us, a phone and an IP speaker, they're the same thing.
Yep.
They're just endpoints.
Yep. We're trying to be the leader in the space in 911 and life safety for schools. We've got a great way of handling all of that kind of data, that location data, and we are staying on top of being compliant with the Ray Bombs Act, Next Gen 911, Carrie's Law, Alyssa's Law. All those things are always top of mind. So, yeah, sometimes we get the opportunity to share with the market where people may not be aware of some of those things and to be able to help them with being compliant with those. And so it's always a good opportunity.
Yeah. And you look at failover, we have the ability to say, we realized, hey, how many times have we had schools over the years calling, hey, the fiber got cut. Billy Bob down the street was on a backhoe. And so we realized the need to be able to keep voice communications from a safety standpoint up and operational, which got us into doing cellular failovers. When we did the cellular failovers, we had schools that came to us and said, love the idea, but I've got a school that has zero cell service.
Right.
That then got us into repeaters and amps for the cell world. It's just a natural progression. Again, it goes back to the market telling you what it needs.
It's awesome.
Yep.
Stephen, as you prepare to step into the role of president, what excites you the most?
Not having dad here.
A few things. So, first of all, the people inside the company. I think we have such a phenomenal group of people. And I've watched, as we've grown over time, and there's been a lot of great people that have worked at the company over the years. But I really am so excited. I love coming into the office every day, working with the people that we have in the office. It's just so fun to see. We've got people who have been with the business for longer than I have, like yourself. I mean, that know so much about what we do and how we do it, and are so committed to the vision. And I love that. It's just so much fun to work with a group of people who are just so in line with saying, man, we're going to get this done. Like, we are going to accomplish the mission of what we're setting out to. And so having the people inside the company is most exciting, but also just the opportunity to continue the relationships with the customers that we have. I want to keep serving them and serving them well, and then be able to do that for other customers, new customers, and just continue doing what we've been doing so well that's gotten us to this point. I think the other part is, while Dad is retiring, he's not going anywhere. Don't plan on him moving to the beach and being far away, but still having Dad around, providing insight, helping with some product development on the back end, and doing what he loves doing on that front of things also is just exciting. Love the opportunity to come in and work with family every day, to work with my dad. So thankful for that. Not everybody gets that opportunity. And so I personally love it. Glad to be able to do it, and glad that while he may be retiring and stepping out of the business, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and that's one of the key things. This transition has been 2 years in the making. And so I've been really working with the leadership team, yourself included, Jesse, is trying to get everybody pointed in the right direction, focused on the right things, taking care of the right things. No offense to the accountants we've got in the company, but I hate dealing with all the accounting and numbers and everything else.
They're great. We're very thankful for them.
And they are great. But it's just not my love. That's not my passion. My passion really is two things. My passion is engaging people, getting to know people, and product development. I love seeing problems out there and figuring out a way, can we solve this problem? And not just solve it, but solve it economically in a way that it's viable for the customer to be able to consume. And so, to Stephen's point, honestly, what I'm unloading is all the drudgery of the business. And I'm getting to focus on all the fun stuff, all the play stuff that I want to do, which is going out, meeting new tech coordinators, meeting new customers and partners, and helping with trying to figure out some of the direction and vision of some of the products that we've got to come out with. So that's the part that I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I'm not completely stepping out. But hopefully I'm not signing checks here at the end of the year. Somebody else is doing that.
Great. Either one or both of you can answer this question, but this is the IT Director's Playbook. If you could tell an IT director or all the IT directors listening one thing, what would it be?
I go back to the fact of the way we look at what we do, voice communications. And for an IT director, the mission that they are part of is educating young minds each and every day. The better that they can come alongside the educators and say, how can technology fulfill the mission that you've got in your individual classroom with your individual students, the better off they're going to be as far as the day-to-day issues when they arise. In other words, when a teacher realizes you're partnered in that mission, the better off I think they're going to have as far as a long-term career standpoint.
We're here to partner. We're here to make their lives easier. And, we talked about just the other day, service is first and foremost. Nobody wants to deal with a company that's just a pain to deal with, where you call in, you get all these automated messages or whatever. People want to talk to people, and they want people who are competent, who can help them and help them quickly. Like Dad said, tech directors don't want things that are going to add more to their plate. And if they have a partner, an extension of them that can come alongside them and say, hey, we'll take care of this. We're competent to know what we're doing. Help them solve whatever the challenge is that they're calling us about, and do that quickly and efficiently. They love that. And so that's what we're about, is helping them by being easy to deal with and being a good quality service provider. All of our support is about 30 feet away from where I sit. They're there constantly, and they're great folks. We love them. And like I said, they're part of the group of people that I'm excited to come to work with every day. They know what they're doing. They do a good job of dealing with our customers and just developing those relationships and keeping them going. I hear from tech directors often, and my favorite thing to hear is, oh man, I called into support, got a person on the phone right away, and they helped me solve my problem, and it was just so easy. And I'm so thankful for that. And that goes so far with tech directors.
Here's the only caveat to that, tech directors out there. August is the worst month for you and for us.
That's true.
It's amazing. Our ticket volume in August, and I do say this intentionally, I know we're wrapping up this, but bear with us. We know every year it's coming. We staff, we try to do things, but our ticket volume in August goes up fourfold.
Yep.
And we get through it every year. I always want to print T-shirts for everybody in the company that says, we survived another August.
Back to school is coming.
That's exactly right. But we're in it with you. That's the thing I want to communicate.
Yep.
We're in it with you there.
It's great. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, glad to do it.
Yep.
Awesome.
And now I got time, so let me know if you want to go to lunch. I'll come eat lunch with you.
Craig will buy you lunch.